Okay, let's talk about bacterial genetics. I know, it can seem like a bit of a beast, but trust me, it's the absolute key to understanding so much in medicine, from antibiotic resistance to how new diseases pop up. In this explainer, we're going to give you the super high-yield rundown you need.
So you hear about superbugs all the time, right? But how does a tiny, simple bacterium actually become one? How does it manage to outsmart our best drugs? The answer? The secret sauce is all in its genetics. How it manages, copies, and most importantly, shares its DNA.
All right, here's our game plan. We've got this broken into 3 simple parts. First, we're going to look at the bacterial blueprint itself. Then, we'll dive into how bacteria actually use that blueprint to live. And finally, the really exciting part, how they share their genetic secrets, which is how they evolve so darn fast.
Let's jump right into section 1. We're starting with the absolute fundamentals, the code of life that defines what a bacterium is and what it can do.
So, what do we even mean by bacterial genetics? Well, at its heart, it's just the study of heredity. You know, how traits get passed down and how they change. And the master molecule for all of this, the foundation for every single trait, is DNA.
Now you have to realize bacterial DNA is pretty different from ours. Instead of a bunch of linear chromosomes like we have, bacteria usually keep it simple, with a single haploid chromosome. Just imagine a big, supercoiled loop of DNA. And a key difference, it doesn't have those histone proteins that our cells use to package everything up neatly.
And where does this big DNA loop live? Not in some fancy walled-off nucleus like in our cells. Nope. It just kind of hangs out in a specific region of the cell called the nucleoid. Think of it as an open-plan office for the genetic material. No walls, no membrane. It's a classic prokaryotic feature.
And here it is, the iconic double helix. You've got 2 strands of nucleotides coiled around each other. What holds them together? It's that simple, beautiful rule of complementary base pairing. Adenine always with thymine, and guanine always with cytosine. That simple rule is why genetic information can be stored and copied so reliably. But wait, there's more. The main chromosome isn't the whole story. Bacteria also have these extra, little, independent circles of DNA called plasmids. And these little guys? Oh, they are a huge deal clinically, as we're about to find out.
Here's a great way to think about it. The chromosome is like the master cookbook. It's got all the essential recipes the bacterium needs for basic survival. Plasmids, on the other hand, are like optional recipe cards. But these cards have some seriously powerful recipes. We're talking R plasmids that carry the code for antibiotic resistance, or virulence plasmids with instructions for making toxins. This is how one bacterium can pass on a single plasmid and turn a harmless bug into a major pathogen.
Okay, so we've got the blueprint. Now, how does a bacterium actually bring it to life? Let's move on to section 2, where we cover the core processes of actually using and copying all that genetic info.
So, whenever a bacterium divides, job number 1 is making a perfect copy of its DNA. It does this through a process called semi-conservative replication. It's really quite elegant. The 2 DNA strands unwind, and each one is used as a template to build a brand new matching strand. The result? 2 identical DNA molecules, each with one of the old strands and one of the new ones.
Now, how does this physically happen? Well, there are 2 main ways bacteria get it done. There's bidirectional replication, which you see in bugs like E. coli. It just starts at one point and copies the DNA in both directions at once. But then there's this other one, the rolling circle mechanism. It's a little different, but you really need to remember this one because it's critical for how bacteria share genes. So just put a pin in that for now.
Of course, this isn't magic. It requires a whole team of enzymes, a molecular construction crew. This table right here is super high yield. You've got helicase, which unwinds the DNA. Topoisomerase runs ahead of it, relieving the strain. DNA polymerase III is the star of the show. It's the master builder synthesizing the new strand. And you can think of polymerase I and II as the repair crew, fixing any damage along the way.
Okay, so you have this amazing DNA library. How does the cell actually read the instructions? This brings us to the central dogma. Step 1 is transcription. This is where a specific gene, a single recipe, gets copied from the DNA onto a temporary note, a molecule we call messenger RNA, or mRNA.
Next up, that mRNA note is taken to a ribosome, which is basically the cell's protein factory. The ribosome reads the mRNA code and translates it, assembling a specific chain of amino acids to build a protein. And that's translation. So, from DNA to RNA to protein, that's the central dogma in action.
We can break translation down into 4 key phases. It all kicks off with initiation. Then, the real work happens during elongation and translocation, as the protein chain gets built. And it all wraps up with termination, when a stop signal is hit and the finished protein is released to go do its job.
And now for our final section. And honestly, this might be the most clinically relevant part of the whole explainer. We're going to talk about how bacteria share their genetic secrets. This is the engine that drives their incredibly fast evolution.
This right here is a total game changer. See, we pass genes vertically, from parent to child. Bacteria can do something incredible called horizontal gene transfer. They can literally pass genes, often on those plasmids we talked about, directly to their neighbors, even if it's a completely different species. It's wild.
Okay, high-yield alert for your exams. You have to know these 5 mechanisms. Transformation is when a bacterium just grabs naked DNA from its environment. Transduction uses a virus as a shuttle to carry genes from one bug to another. Conjugation is direct cell-to-cell transfer. Think of it like a bacterial handshake. And transposition involves jumping genes that can move around. These are the highways for traits like antibiotic resistance to spread.
And here's where we connect the dots. Remember that rolling circle replication I told you to put a pin in? Well, this is it. This is the exact process that's used to copy a plasmid during conjugation. It allows one bacterium to send a copy of its plasmid to a neighbor, creating a new resistant or virulent cell.
So, let's recap the big picture here. Number 1, bacteria keep their genetic blueprint in a main chromosome and those super important plasmids. Number 2, they bring that blueprint to life through core processes like replication and translation. And number 3, the most critical point, they can evolve at lightning speed because they share genes horizontally.
Which brings us to a final, really important question for you to think about. We understand the mechanisms. We can see bacteria evolving their genetic arsenal right before our eyes, sharing resistance and virulence genes. So the challenge for us is this. As their playbook evolves, how do our medical strategies need to evolve to keep pace, or better yet, stay one step ahead?